Hello, I'm PJ Bishop, and welcome to my channel and the ongoing series with the Oakland Athletics. In this video, we're going to go over the 2024 draft class, a class that I'm extremely happy with. I ended up getting 21 players. Here's their potential by overall. Several high-end players with high-end talent, so looking forward to that. Many more with average to above average, and even a few that are below average. So, in my opinion, all 21 picks can potentially make the major league, make the majors. It just depends on how they develop, and if we have spots for them. Because if I keep hitting draft classes like this, I won't have a spot for every single player that comes up through my program. Eventually, somebody's going to get traded off, moved on elsewhere, and we can maybe upgrade a position or trade them for younger prospects, whatever it may be. But it is exciting. It's a fairly balanced class, especially between college and high school. As you can see, I think it's almost an even split between college guys and high school guys. I did pick up more pitchers than batters, but it's still fairly balanced. So it was overall, I think it was a great class from talent-wise, top to bottom, and also the disparity of whether it was pitching or batters, and also high school or college. So it's a good-looking class, and let's start going over it. So I did have the 4th overall pick. So in the first round, 4th overall pick, we decided to go with starting pitcher Thatcher Hurd. That's this kid here. We haven't signed him yet. College junior out of LSU. Not an overly dominant season. As far as if you looked at the stats, you wouldn't find this to be overly dominant, but he's projected to do very well. He's not a leader, unfortunately. I wonder if his intelligence is low, as his mind tends to wander. But he's got this is what his ratings are, according to my scout, of course, and his scouted very high, so we got a pretty good read on him. His ratings are considered, his stuff is plus, above average movement, and above average control. He's got 4 good pitches, nearly an elite level fastball, nearly a plus slider, curveball, same thing, nearly perfect grade, and a changeup that's nearly plus. So 4 really good pitches, almost 4 plus or better pitches. He's got plenty of stamina. Hold runners, wish that was a little higher so people aren't stealing left and right on him. Good velocity. I do like the 3/4 arm slot. And of course, his ratings just are jumping off the. He's not on my team yet, so I can't see what he looked like as a reliever. I'd imagine he'd be even a better reliever if I was able to, because he'll get a bump in his stuff. But overall, if things hold true, he looks like somebody that could make an impact on my team faster than normal, because he's already pretty darn good for Arizona. Will he be able to be good enough for California? Not quite good enough. I wouldn't put him in California yet, but he is ready for the Arizona complex. So if I sign him fast enough, I could perhaps even have him help out in the last few playoff games. But there he is. That is my first round, 4th overall pick. A pitcher that's I consider a front line. Someone that could probably be a number 2 guy for me if everything holds up. In the second round, 1st overall, I went with starting pitcher Ryan Johnson, another college pitcher. Again, potential to be a frontline starter. So that's 2 frontline guys that I picked as arms. Another college junior. This one out of Dallas Baptist University. Stats look better. ERA was extremely good. WHIP was lower. Higher strikeout rate. And his ratings look well. He's got plus stuff, above average movement, above average control. 4 pitches. Slider is a plus. Changeup is nearly plus. And slider is sinker. Sorry, sinker nearly plus. And a plus cutter. So again, pitches are all plus or better. Stamina not as high. I can live with that, but good velocity. I like that velocity, 94, 96, which means it could maybe still improve a little bit in the velocity standpoint. Because again, he's only 21. But as you can see, he's already 30 overall, which to me is good because that means he's getting closer to his potential. Like, he's not starting off at the base naked 20, where this overall and the where the potential and the overall are so far apart from each other, but there's more chance of it becoming lower and lower as he gets older. In fact, I think he's capable of playing. Is it Midwest? Yeah, he'll be considered a average pitcher for Midwest just right out of the gate. So chances are I will still probably stick him at Low A, California, just to get him some reps. Probably finish out the season there. It's a debate between whether I want to rest him, but I think I don't know if it affects them like it does in real life, where they tend to not use the pitching arms. A lot of them actually just get completely shut down for the rest of the year. They'll do some work, but they're not doing any actual in-game stuff. But in this game, I don't know if that's taken into account or if you get more or less punished by not using them. So I'm going to use them and see what happens. Plus, we'll get them started early. We did get a compensatory pick, so second round, 35th overall. I went with right fielder Jackson Strong. This kid down here, another college kid. I really like him. I think he has a chance to be one of our best batters. Although he's not going to be a right fielder, he's destined to be a left fielder, possibly a first baseman if I need him. It's also a DH. So he's got 3 places he can easily play. He can be in right field in a pinch, although I prefer not to because he just doesn't quite have the arm strength. But left field will be perfect for him. Could be first base, although he's not a true power guy. He's kind of just overall a solid player because a lot of his ratings are average or just above average, his eye being his best suit. So he's a patient hitter, but his on-base ability is exactly what I like. He can steal, he's got the speed, he's aggressive, he runs bases well. And defensively, if you stick him to left field, he'll be an excellent defender there. So overall, he's a good-looking player. Someone that I'm excited to get into our system. And hopefully he'll develop fairly quickly, considering that he is. As you can see, a lot of his ratings are already at 40. So you're hoping maybe he can... you hope the scouting report is accurate, and this is how good he actually is, and he'll maintain this. Because I would like to shoot him up through the system as quick as possible and get him up into my lineup. This is a player that I really would love to see in my lineup on a daily basis. This is an everyday bat for sure. In the third round, first overall, from now on, they're all first-round picks or first overall. So again, we had the worst record last year, which we should have had if it wasn't for the lottery, we would have had the number 1 overall pick. But for the third round, first pick, we got catcher James Nunali. Where is he? There he is, catcher James Nunali. I believe this is a high school bat. So our first high school bat that we picked up. This guy is a powerhouse. His biggest attribute, his best attribute is his power. It's plus power, but it looks like he'll be a solid hitter overall. And so for someone with his power, it doesn't look like he'll strike out as much either, which is good. So he can hit for average and power, or at least a decent average. Not dangerous on the base pass, but I don't really expect that from my catcher. As a catcher, he looks fairly average, so defensive-wise, he's not going to be that much of an asset. His best bat is to be a left fielder. So once again, another left fielder. What was this for? Could he play first? I wouldn't want to put him at first unless he was the last person available. But more likely, he could be a catcher, left fielder. Looks like he's been playing a lot of right in college, or high school rather, and DH. So he's got plenty of places to go. And considering that he does have substantial power, it's someone that I would like to see develop. Now he's graded out for 60, but we'll see how that plays out, considering he's only 18. And I think he'll be 18. What's his birthday? April? No, he'll be 19 by the time next year. So he'll still be a teenager when he starts playing for me next year. In the 4th round, we picked starting pitcher Hudson Barton. That's this kid here. Another high school. This is the first high school arm we picked. Again, he's got frontline ratings. But again, with high school players, they are so far away from their true potential that it's very difficult to, because you can look at all these 30s, while the other guys are in their 40s already. So it's very difficult to tell what he'll turn out to be. He's got the potential to be really good, be a frontline guy. You know, for me, I personally see him as a number 3 arm. He would be a perfect number 3 for a World Series aspiration team. I do like he's loyal, he's adaptable. Perhaps we can keep him for a long time because money is not his driving force. Of course, you expect him to have dominant numbers in high school. I mean, his ERA is, if that was your ERA now, you'll be ridiculous. Just everything about him looks really good. He's got nearly plus stuff, above average movement, plus control. A solid 3-pitch mix with, I wish the fastball was a little better. It's currently just sitting at above average, but the curveball and changeup are both at plus. The curveball being a nearly elite pitch. Still, I think he has the tools to be a starter. I hope he does maintain that and remains a starter. Not a high velocity kid, but one that's got really good stuff. Then we picked in the 5th round, we went with starting pitcher Nyolova Lawalki Jr. And I'm sure I got that name completely incorrect. Again, another high school arm with frontline potential. So we've got, like I said, this was a strong draft for us. A lot of guys with really strong potential to be giant impacts for us in the future if they pan out. You never know with TCR. It could ruin an arm and send him back to 40. But he's got really good stuff, nearly plus stuff, above average movement, average control. And his 3-pitch mix is solid. Not as good as the last guy. As you can see, his fastball is above average. Slider is plus. Changeup is just below plus, but still good nonetheless. So this is why I ended up going with him. I think I could have picked him in the 4th round, but I wasn't too keen on his ratings as I was the other guys. So I don't know. I could take the chance of taking him rather than taking him and then losing the other guy. So that was that. With our 6th round pick, we went with starting pitcher. As you can see, there's quite a theme here with starting pitchers. We went with starting pitcher Drew Rarick. Another high school arm who's rated really highly. So we're taking a chance of these high school arms and hoping that it's kind of a shotgun effect, really, is what it is what I like to call it. Because I also play a dynasty league baseball, a fantasy baseball, and I tend to trade for a lot of draft picks. A lot of guys in our league don't like to do the research. I do. So when I do draft, I usually have now there's only 10 of us. We used to have 12. So it was 36 total picks plus any bonus picks and sometimes 4th round, 5th round bonus picks. If we all gathered and you get a show up reward. But anyway, in a normal draft now, there's only 30 picks. I think last year I had half the picks. I had like 18 picks. And I call it the shotgun effect, where you just pick so many guys that even if you bust out on 5 of them or 6 of them or even half of them, you still got 9 potential starters/stars that you hit on. And right now, my prospect looks disgusting. But anyway, that's kind of my effect here. Is just get as many as I can, because some of these guys will end up being busts. And I can't complain about it and go, oh man, this game is terrible. It makes all your players suck. It doesn't. It is fairly accurate when it comes to high school arms. Sometimes, because they're just so far away from any meaningful impact. By the time they get to the college age, you do get a better read on them. But then they still got another 2 or 3 more years before you actually get them up. So it's a long journey with these arms. But this guy I couldn't pass up on, as he had plus stuff, Plus movement. The control was what scared me. It's below average. It's the bare minimum that I would take for a starter is the 45 control. But he's got a 4-pitch mix that's fantastic. A plus slider and a plus curveball being his biggest assets. And of course his fastball and changeup are just below plus. So the stuff is there. My issue is his control. And I think even if he does not work out as a starter, he's got big time potential as a closer. Because he's got such elite stuff. Shouldn't give up home runs or even base hits or really hits in general. Will walk a guy or two, but in general, he's going to be striking out a ton. I mean, this is high school, so of course he's got 15 Ks per 9. But if it was in the pro, if you can get that same output in the pros, you're doing quite dandy. So I am excited for him. He's got definitely multiple paths to get to the majors. In the 7th round, we went with starting pitcher Eli Jones. This is a college arm. Went back to the college arms. Not a good leader, not a very loyal person either. But he's someone that I think I couldn't pass up on his control. I just thought it was too high to just kind of like this guy is. I don't foresee him being a starter. I don't value him as a starter. I value him as a reliever who I can put on. The bases are loaded, and I cannot afford a walk. I don't want a home run. I just want a guy that can get in there, get some weak contact, get me a double play situation, and get out of the inning unscathed. And that's what he looks like. He looks like because he's got weak stuff, below average stuff, above average movement, and plus control with 3 average pitches. So I'm just hoping that his ground ball, get the ground balls going, get the double plays going, and hopefully we can escape without too much trouble. And that's what he is. He's a potential fireman is what I like to call him. I like to call him fireman. It's things are on fire. We got bases loaded. We need someone to come in and take care of business. That's where he comes in and does his business. I don't mind where they're located as far as what team. That's just a default. I'll be changing that myself, but I think only one guy is good enough to actually start off at low A. Everybody else is going to have to work their way up from the complex. Our next pick was in the 8th round. We picked first baseman Darian McDowell. This kid here looks like he's got power. That's his thing. He's a true first baseman, as you can see here. Ratings wise, he's terrible at everything. I was hesitant on picking him because of that, because just he's got absolutely no contribution here, no contribution here, and all he's got really going for him is his plus power. If he can reach that, then it's fantastic, and it was a great pick. But if he doesn't ever get to his plus power, he really has such little use that he might end up finding himself as a career minor leaguer. I hope not. But he's one of those guys you kind of take a chance on and hope that the power develops, and the rest just maybe he gets better in defense. I doubt it. I mean, he's an average defender at best at first base. In the 9th round, I went with right fielder Lucas Ramirez. Went back to the high school ranks, got me an above average potential right fielder. And he has the arm to stick to right field because his range is pretty terrible. He can play first base, so really he's looking at right field, first base. Can play left. Again, this should be flipped. It should be, if anything, right field should be 50, while left field should be 45, because the arm strength is what matters more so in right field than left field. So it's fairly evident that Out of the Park doesn't nail everything as correctly as you would like, because arm strength is a major factor for a right fielder, along with how good their bat is. His bat is what's going to carry him to the majors. Nearly a plus grade power, but still very manageable K rate at 45 potential, although he's so far away from it now. He's at the minimum 20. And that's a high school bat, so you're going to expect the minimum ratings. Remember, the college bat I picked was already all 40 at the minimum. This guy is multiple 20 in the 20s and the rest and that best 35. So he's far from a polished product, but he looks like he could develop into a solid right fielder with the type of power that you expect out of right field. Our 10th pick is catcher Yanol Cassiano. This kid here, another high school bat, above average potential. I think that's mainly because of his above average contact, above average power, really good eye, decent K rate, average K rate. He looks like he could be a formidable offensive weapon as a catcher. Not someone's going to wow you with a ton of home runs, but just enough to offset his average defense, because defensively he's not great, but he's a good leader. The work ethic is there, the intelligence is there. Yeah, because catching is really all he's going to do. If he's not catching, he's a DH, because he's not going to be your best defensive catcher option you have. I already have tons of guys better than him. He just has the offensive capability. In fact, he looks really solid. Perhaps he's one of those guys that might end up platooning, not because he's terrible with his power, but because perhaps he's a better hitter versus lefties than he is righties. While the other guy is slightly better at righties, but also has the defensive edge. But he should reach the majors, even if he ends up being a backup catcher, which I can live with. I think he can definitely contribute. In the 11th round, we picked third baseman Henry Allen. It's this kid here. I like his stuff. I'm surprised he was available in the third, as far down as the 11th round. When I saw that his bat is rated plus, his power is rated plus. He's not going to walk a lot, but his strikeout rate is average. So you think he's someone that should have a decent average who can hit for power. Now, yes, he's got no skill set when it comes to on bases, and he's definitely not sticking to third base. If anything, he's moving to first, where he'll be a pretty bad defender there anyway, and obviously a DH. Now, works hard, just not very skilled when it comes to. So really, for him, the reason why he's probably 50 is because this department here, the on base skill set and the defensive skill set are really low. Because his bat looks fantastic. Who doesn't want a plus bat and a plus power? So this guy can hit for average and power? Yes, please. I'll take him. Oh, but he can only play first base / DH? And he can't steal for the life of him? I mean, look at that. He got caught stealing 4 of the 9 times he tried, so definitely not worth sending him. You're going to end up just wasting it out. We'll see how he develops, though. He's still he's a high school up bat, but man, he does look good offensively. It's just everywhere else he's not much of an impact. In the 12th round, I went with third baseman Brody Johnston. That's Ryan Johnston. This is Brody Johnston. Brody Johnston can, in fact, stick at third. He's got a good enough arm to stick there, decent enough range, above average range, and average hands. But the arm strength is plus, so he's capable of probably staying there. And he's got good work ethic. For him, it's going to be about just maintaining above average offense, because it looks like his above average power, above average contact. The K rate looks average, eyes above average, so nothing extraordinary here, but it's all solid stuff that I can live with. But he's definitely got to hit for home runs, so perhaps that power, although the gap power may help him overcome his average power, because he's not a third baseman that's able to steal bases. My philosophy on third baseman is similar to first baseman. You either got to have power, but third baseman, you can get away with someone who steals a lot of bases, but you need to get 30 in that department. Either get 30 home runs or get 30 stolen bases or get a combo of 15 and 15 or whatever. But he needs to provide something other than defense. Because defense at third base, yes, it's important, but it's way down the line to the point to where you still in the corner position. You need bat, you need offense of some sort, whether it's stealing bases, hitting home runs, hitting for average, whatever it is. You need to excel at something. You can't just be average and not steal bases, not really hit home runs, and just be an average. Because he's an average defender. Nothing about his defense says, "Ooh, this guy is worth being average on offense to being well above average on defense." Still a very solid player that I'm hoping will develop just fine. If he's my starting third baseman sometime in the future, I wouldn't complain. In the 13th round, went with shortstop Jack Lyons. Highly doubtful he'll remain at shortstop. He's a fringe second baseman, in my opinion. More of a left fielder, fringe second baseman. Will probably end up, as he cranks up the minors, might end up at third base once or twice in his time. But second base, left field is kind of his long-term home. Offensively, he's very average. Again, above average power, above average contact. The K rate and the I rate of everything above it. Actually, I think everyone, all his expected offensive ratings are above average. Wish some of those would go up just a tad bit. Would like to see his stealing go up. This guy is like the epitome of what an average person is. It's extremely average overall, but he can contribute on a major league roster. And worst case scenario, he plays for a little while, then you end up packaging him in a trade. He gets sent off, goes somewhere else, and you get somebody better that you like more. That's kind of what it is. Maybe a future trade bait that you don't mind letting go because you got guys that are better. In the 14th round, we went with starting pitcher. I think the rest of the picks from here on out are pitchers. Went with starting pitcher Carson Messina. This guy here. Back to the high school ranks for arms. Projected to be above average. Somebody that I could probably see as my number 4 starter. Now, I say that like I can afford a ace for number 1. Like I can afford 3 frontline starters. Reality is this guy is probably going to be our future starter, number 1 starter for years to come because that's what we can afford once the money starts getting too expensive and we lose that early protection with the minimum contracts. I got mixed feelings on this, but getting a 14th round pick that's got above average potential with his ratings, I couldn't pass up on. Plus stuff, above average movement, below average control, which could eventually put him in the bullpen for majority of his career. 3 solid pitches, an above average fastball, and then a nearly plus slider and changeup. So he's good. It's just a matter of will he, and he can hit too. He's got nearly plus power. So he's one of those guys that can be a DH. So for a 14th round pick, I get a guy who might have some really good DH. What's his actual avoid? Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever become that good. The avoid K potential is so low. I would imagine he just always, but he could even play third base. Pretty solid third baseman with that arm. So he's got multiple paths to get himself to the majors. Unless his K rate drops significantly or raises significantly as far as his actual rating, not the K rate. I don't want a K rate in the 30s. But if it drops down or increases in ratings, I don't see this as being a viable future for him. Just, is it worth the possible 30, 35 home runs a year for the 150 strikeouts in 75 games? No. I mean, this guy is probably going to strike out 200 times a year at least. In the 17th, where am I now? 15th round, we picked Aiden Hayes. Aiden Hayes. There he is. Another high school arm. Projected to be above average. So again, I was able to find some pretty decent arms in the low end of the draft, mainly because they're high school. The AI tends to avoid high. I mean, I guess it's like that kind of in real life. High school arms are the biggest gamble there is. But he's got above average potential. Although I think it would be better. He looks like he's better suited for the bullpen. His stamina is not very high. I think for me, he's going to end up being a bullpen arm. I don't know if his stamina will hold up. It might drop if I use him in the bullpen for his entire career. But he is somebody who's going to be potentially. Oh, I can actually set his position. If I set him as a reliever, still stays at 55 potential, but his overall automatically jumps to 25, which is kind of cool. As a starter, but I think if I put him as a reliever, he'll be much better suited as a reliever than a starter. His stuff is currently plus, above average movement, above average control. It's the fastball is probably keeping him down at 55 instead of being higher, like 60, like the other guys that were very similar in rating, but just had a better fastball. Because his slider is plus and his changeup is nearly elite. But with the fastball being the reason why he's further down the line. Now, if that increases, then he's going to look like a much better option as a pitcher and possibly get the stamina up as well. There's a lot of things to work on with him. It's not just one thing here or there. It's multiple places that we got to work on. In the 16th round, we went with relief pitcher. That's right. I picked a reliever. Relief pitcher Brandon Quinn. Usually you pick starters and you kind of sift out who ends up starting and who ends up becoming a reliever. But here's a college arm that's nearly ready for the pros. He's 30, potentially 45 is his potential. He's going to have plus stuff, above average movement, average control. A 4-pitch mix that's decent. It's average, just slightly above average. He's a typical middle reliever. That's going to come in for us. And he could be one of those guys that could end up working his way up to a backup setup man. So third down the line in that situation, but because his control is good enough, his movement is good enough, and his stuff is good enough to keep him rated. He's not a very good worker there. Work ethic is low. But we'll see what he does. I like the fact that he's not that far off from being ready. So I expect him to climb fairly quickly through the ranks. That's someone who's already fairly developed. If I looked at him for the Arizona complex, he's already at 60-80. So the stuff isn't quite good yet. I mean, this is what his ratings will be compared to complex league guys. But he's obviously going to be one of the better pitchers there from the get-go. In the 17th round, we picked starting pitcher Ryan Minkler. Where's Ryan Minkler? There's Ryan Minkler. It's another college arm. Not quite as developed as the other guys, but still very difficult to avoid these guys. Another arm that I picked later in the round that's probably destined to be a bullpen arm, which you would think, if I made him a reliever. And the average still sticks at, the overall still says 45, but I feel like it would go up. He'd be more valuable as a reliever than he would be as a starter. The stamina is very low for a starter. This is like an emergency guy. I feel like he's the worst option to have available. Even though he's got plus stuff, average movement, average control, and the pitches don't look bad. It's a good mix. He's got nearly a plus fastball. The curveball is graded out to be elite, and the changeup could be a plus pitch. If his stamina goes higher, I could see his value rise, and he could see himself in the rotation. But more than likely, he's going to see himself as a good long reliever, a bulk inning guy. He can eat up a lot of innings, and you don't have to worry about his control as much, and he can still strike guys out. I think he'd be a solid long reliever, emergency starter, a follower in case the starter pitcher is getting blown up or injured early on, but still a valuable pick nonetheless. In the 18th round, I went with the starting pitcher Griffith Herring. There he is, Griffin Herring here. Another college arm who's probably better suited for the bullpen because the stamina just isn't quite there yet. This stuff is plus, movement is average, control is below average. Again, that's the bare minimum I would want for my starting pitcher. But he's got a solid 3-pitch mix. 3 pitches that are graded plus, or projected to be plus for better. Fastball is plus, slider is nearly plus, and a plus changeup. So he's just like the last guy. Get your stamina up a little higher, and I would be more inclined to give you a shot at the rotation. Possibly get your control a little better than what it is. And again, a shot at the rotation. But definitely someone that can come out of the bullpen and be effective. And the kind of guy that I prefer, which is the guys with stuff. Because these guys, I think, are more expensive in free agency than, say, getting a guy with 60 control versus a guy with 60 stuff. Just cost you more to get this guy. So if I already have them in my system coming up, and I have them for the bare minimum for 2 or 3 years or whatever, then that's what I would rather have. In the 19th pick, we went with starting pitcher Yoel Tejeda Jr. Yoel Tejeda Jr. That's this kid right here. Solid-looking kid. Looks like one of those guys that can play. He's got really good velocity, actually. 95, 97 is what he currently sits at. Looks like he can play both offense and defense. Nothing spectacular about his batting ratings. Nothing special here. I just feel like he is a guy that can contribute. And if I'm going to pick somebody in the later rounds, I'd rather pick players that are closer to contributing in the majors than picking an 18-year-old who may never develop and ends up just being cut. Because he's rated for above average stuff, average movement, average control. Really good 3-pitch mix. I mean, the slider and curveball are plus. The fastball is nearly plus. I think what's holding him back is just, I guess he's not purely a strikeout guy. Stamina's not that high, hold runners not that high, but I think he's a solid pitcher with the great pitch mix, and somebody that if I pulled out of the bullpen, I'd be very happy. Another long relief option. In fact, I love that my relievers will have 40, 45 stamina plus. They'll be able to last longer. They'll recover quicker and better. And I'll be able to, sometimes your starter gets hurt early on and you end up going through your bullpen way quicker than you wanted. And sometimes you're just getting your ass kicked and you end up going through your bullpen because everybody is just getting their ass kicked. Or the starter lasts 1 inning and all of a sudden now it's turned into a bullpen game. Well, if you get guys with more stamina, your bullpen can survive a rough stretch, whether it's injury-induced or just poor play. And finally, least but not last, well, I guess he is last, but not irrelevant, is I picked a starting pitcher in the 20th round, Cade Crossland. This kid here, another college, the last pick was at college as well. Again, someone that I can see coming out of the bullpen, having good impact. He can be my 5th starter. Above average stuff, average movement, average control. But again, a solid 3-pitch mix. Very bread and butter type pitches, the fastball, slider, and changeup. If that's what you have coming out of the bullpen, fantastic, especially if they're all plus or better. And they're all graded to be plus or better. So that's it. That's my draft class. It's 21 guys that I feel very confident about that can actually contribute to my major league roster at some point. I mean, ideally, all of these 21 guys could be on my major league roster within 5 years. Of course, it's not going to happen because there's only 26 slots, and some of these guys just don't play positions that would make sense. So it probably won't happen. Some of these guys will not make it. It's going to be fun to figure out who to weed out, who gets sent off where. But it'll be fun to follow. We'll do a Where Are They Now every once in a while. Of course, some of them you'll hear from anyway because they'll be called up and you'll see them. But these are all what I consider top prospects, and they're going to move over. And we just added 21 guys to my prospect list that I'm extremely happy about. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to go over the month of July and the trade deadline and see if anything exciting happened for my team.